Welcome to our deep dive, into this really fascinating world of genomics research. We've got two papers that we're going to be kind of looking at today, and both of them are really cutting edge and, very, very interesting.
Fresh off the press.
Yeah, fresh off the presses.
Yeah.
So one of them is diving into the depths of giant viruses.
Yes.
These are, these enigmatic giants in the microbial world.
Yes.
And the other one is tackling, this challenge of how do we store information in DNA?
Yeah.
Which just sounds so futuristic to me.
It does.
But they're both really cool. And
they may seem worlds apart.
Yeah.
But they're actually more connected than you might think because they both rely on advancements in, genomics and bioinformatics.
Yeah.
These tools that allow us to decode and manipulate the building blocks of life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so why should we care about these things?
Yeah.
Like giant viruses and DNA data storage.
Why should our listeners care? Well, for one, understanding, the diversity and the impact of these giant viruses is crucial for various fields, from medicine to ecology to agriculture. These viruses play important roles in these ecosystems, shaping microbial communities and influencing nutrient cycles.
Yeah.
And as for DNA data storage, well, this has the potential to revolutionize how we store vast amounts of data for generations to come.
Really?
Yeah, DNA is incredibly dense, durable, and stable, making it, an ideal medium for long-term archiving.
Wow.
And on top of that, the advancements in sequencing and analysis techniques that are being used for DNA storage can actually be applied to studying giant viruses as well.
Okay, fascinating.
Yeah.
So let's unpack this a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
Starting with giant viruses.
All right.
So what are they? And what makes them so unique?
Giant viruses, they're not your average viruses.
Right.
They dwarf typical viruses in size.
Like how much bigger are we talking?
Oh, some of them are even visible under a light microscope. That's how big they are.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And their genomes are surprisingly complex, containing hundreds or even thousands of genes.
That seems like a lot.
More akin to bacteria than conventional viruses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like in between?
They're kind of in this gray area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do they infect all sorts of organisms?
Oh, their reach is impressive, infecting a wide range of hosts from single-celled amoebas to animals and plants.
Wow.
And, scientists are really only beginning to uncover the true extent of giant virus diversity in the environment.
Oh, wow. So we don't really know a lot.
It's this whole world out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this first paper that we're looking at today introduces a new tool.
It does.
Called GiantHunter. And it uses AI to identify giant viruses. Why is that so hard to do?
It's like finding a needle in a haystack. A haystack composed of billions of pieces of genetic code.
Oh, God.
And, giant viruses, they share these genetic similarities with other microbes, which makes them difficult to distinguish.
Right.
And we also lack, comprehensive reference genomes for all the different types out there.
Okay, so it's kind of like...
It's a big puzzle.
Yeah.
A lot of missing pieces.
So this GiantHunter tool that we're talking about, it kind of helps us sift through all this.
Exactly.
It helps to pinpoint these elusive viruses.
Okay.
Using artificial intelligence, specifically reinforcement learning, and Monte Carlo tree search.
Monte Carlo tree search.
Yeah, so think of it like a chess-playing computer. But instead of, evaluating moves, it's evaluating different paths to identify giant virus sequences within vast amounts of genetic data.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Monte Carlo tree search, what is that?
Oh.
Can you kind of break that down?
It's a method for making decisions in complex situations by simulating, vast number of possible outcomes, like exploring numerous branches of a decision tree.
And this allows GiantHunter to efficiently navigate, the complexities of this genomic data and accurately pinpoint those giant virus sequences.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So what did they find using this?
Well, they analyzed these samples from the Yangtze River, both upstream and downstream of the Three Gorges Dam, which is a massive hydroelectric project.
Right.
And they discovered that there were differences in giant virus diversity depending on the location.
Really?
Upstream, the virus populations were more diverse than downstream.
Now, why would that be?
That's a good question.
Yeah. What could be driving those differences?
Well, the researchers speculate that, the dam's construction has altered the river's flow and nutrient cycling, impacting the microbial communities, including, the giant viruses that inhabit them.
Okay.
So it highlights the potential for human activities to really impact even the microscopic world in significant ways.
Yeah, that's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
Like, it really makes you wonder what else is out there, what other hidden viral worlds
Absolutely.
are just waiting to be discovered.
Yeah.
And how human actions might be influencing them.
Yeah, and tools like GiantHunter are opening up these new avenues for exploring this unseen microbial world,
Right.
with implications for understanding everything from ecosystem health to the evolution of life itself.
Okay, so let's shift gears now and talk about DNA data storage.
Okay.
This concept of storing information in DNA is just mind-boggling to me.
Oh, it's wild.
How does it even work?
It's all about encoding digital information into the language of life.
Okay.
So the letters in DNA,
Right.
A, T, C, and G, can represent the ones and zeros in digital data.
So we're basically translating our language into
the language of DNA.
the language of DNA.
Yeah.
But why DNA?
And with DNA.
Out of everything.
Well, DNA has two key advantages.
Okay.
Density and durability.
Correct.
DNA can store an unbelievable amount of information in an incredibly small space.
Okay.
A single gram of DNA could theoretically store all the data in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
What about durability?
DNA is incredibly stable.
All right.
I mean, scientists have recovered DNA from fossils that are thousands of years old.
Wow.
Yeah, compared to hard drives that crash or tapes that degrade, DNA is like a molecular time capsule,
Okay.
capable of preserving information for millennia.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier a pipeline for DNA data storage.
Yeah.
What are the steps involved?
Well, it starts with encoding the digital data into DNA sequences,
Okay.
translating the ones and zeros into combinations of A, T, C, and G.
Mm-hmm.
Then we synthesize those sequences, creating actual strands of DNA.
Okay.
And those strands are stored.
Right.
And when we need to access the data, we sequence the DNA and decode it back into digital form.
So it sounds pretty straightforward, but I imagine there are some challenges
Oh, there are definitely challenges.
in actually putting this into practice.
Yeah, for sure.
What are some of those?
One of the biggest challenges is clustering.
Clustering.
Yeah, so during sequencing, you get lots of copies of each DNA strand,
Yeah.
and they might have errors.
Mm-hmm.
Clustering involves grouping the similar sequences together to reconstruct the original data accurately.
Quote.
Imagine trying to piece together a shredded document,
Okay.
but you have multiple copies of each fragment,
Mm-hmm.
some with typos or missing pieces.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's a big challenge.
That sounds like a really daunting computational task.
It is,
Yeah.
and that's where the second research paper comes in.
Okay.
They're using deep learning,
Okay.
a powerful type of artificial intelligence, to improve the clustering process.
Deep learning, is that like the kind that's used for like facial recognition?
The very same.
Wow, okay.
But instead of analyzing faces,
Right.
it's analyzing raw signals from the nanopore sequencing machine.
Okay.
So these signals are generated as the DNA passes through these tiny pores
Mhm.
before they are translated into the familiar A, T, C, and G bases.
So they're looking at it before it's even translated.
Before the DNA sequence is determined.
Wow, okay, so they're analyzing these electrical signals directly.
Precisely.
Wow.
And this approach could be more accurate
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't rely on that basecalling step,
Mm-hmm.
which can introduce errors,
Right.
and it might also be faster
Okay.
as it cuts out a whole processing step.
Okay.
So it's a really innovative approach.
That's pretty ingenious.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So are there any other challenges in making this DNA data storage a reality?
Yeah, I mean, cost is a major hurdle.
Okay.
Synthesizing and sequencing DNA is still relatively expensive
Right.
compared to traditional storage methods.
Okay.
And the speed of reading and writing data to DNA is also slower than current technologies.
Right. Okay.
And of course, there are technical challenges like minimizing errors during synthesis and sequencing,
Right.
and developing, robust error correction mechanisms.
So it sounds like we've got a ways to go before I'm like backing up my computer
Yeah,
to a DNA hard drive.
it's still early days, but these advancements are pushing us closer to a future where DNA could become a viable option for storing massive amounts of data for centuries or even millennia.
Wow.
Imagine archiving historical documents, scientific data, or even personal memories in DNA.
Oh.
It could revolutionize how we preserve and access information for generations to come.
It's truly mind-boggling to consider the potential.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there are also some significant challenges to overcome.
Definitely.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From the ecological implications of giant viruses to this potential of DNA data storage.
And it's all connected by this underlying thread of genomics research, pushing the boundaries of what we know and what's possible.
It's incredible.
It is.
So stay with us.
Yes.
Because in part 2 of this deep dive, we're going to explore
We're going to go deeper.
the potential applications of these discoveries and what they mean for the future of science and technology.
It's going to be good.
It's a journey you won't want to miss.
Welcome back to our deep dive into giant viruses and DNA data storage.
Yeah, we've explored their unique characteristics and the research that surrounds them.
But yeah.
And we uncovered some pretty fascinating findings.
Yeah, like those.
Like the giant virus diversity shifts around the Three Gorges Dam. And the potential for deep learning to enhance DNA data storage.
Yeah.
So let's kind of delve a little deeper
Let's do it.
into the implications of these discoveries.
Okay.
So, starting with the giant viruses,
Yeah.
what are the potential consequences of those diversity differences that we were talking about earlier?
Well, the Three Gorges Dam study that we talked about
Right.
really highlights the impact of human activities on these microscopic ecosystems. Dams and other infrastructure projects can disrupt viral populations, potentially leading to these cascading effects throughout the entire ecosystem.
Yeah. And given the role that giant viruses play in regulating microbial communities and nutrient cycling,
Exactly.
those disruptions could have far-reaching consequences.
Could.
So what are some of the potential ecological impacts that we could see?
Well, giant viruses influence the populations of other microbes, including bacteria and algae, which are essential for nutrient cycling and ecosystem health. So changes in giant virus diversity can actually ripple through the food web, impacting everything from water quality to the abundance of fish and other aquatic organisms.
Wow. So it's like a delicate balance?
It is.
It's easily disrupted?
Easily disrupted.
By human intervention.
Yeah, and it really underscores the importance of considering those ecological impacts of large-scale projects like that.
Right.
We need to understand how these interventions are shaking the invisible world around us, even at the microscopic level.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we often think of viruses as being harmful.
Right.
But could giant viruses have any beneficial applications?
That's a great question because giant viruses are like these treasure chests of genetic diversity. They possess genes that code for proteins with unique properties, some of which could have beneficial applications.
Okay, what kind of properties are we talking about here?
Well, for instance, some giant viruses possess genes that code for enzymes, capable of breaking down complex carbohydrates. And these enzymes could be valuable in biofuel production.
Oh, interesting.
Potentially contributing to renewable energy solutions.
Okay, so from potential ecological disruptors to potential solutions for renewable energy.
Yeah, they're multifaceted.
That's pretty cool. Are there any other potential applications out there?
Well, giant viruses could also hold the key to developing new antibiotics.
Really?
Yeah, some giant viruses produce antimicrobial compounds to compete with bacteria in their environment.
Right.
And these compounds could be harnessed to combat antibiotic-resistant bacteria.
Oh, wow.
Which is a growing threat to global health.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so it's remarkable how these seemingly obscure entities could hold solutions.
They're full of surprises.
To some of humanity's biggest challenges.
Yeah, they really are.
Okay, so let's turn our attention back to DNA data storage.
Okay.
We've talked about the potential, but what are some of the real-world hurdles to actually making this technology mainstream?
Well, cost remains a significant barrier.
Okay.
Synthesizing and sequencing DNA is currently more expensive than traditional storage methods.
Right.
However, costs are decreasing as technology advances.
Okay, good.
So that's promising.
Yeah, so aside from cost, what other challenges need to be addressed?
Speed is another big factor. Reading and writing data to DNA is currently slower than traditional methods.
Right.
Researchers are working on ways to accelerate both synthesis and sequencing.
Okay.
But there's still room for improvement there.
Right. And what about accuracy?
Accuracy.
Are there concerns about errors?
Oh, yeah.
In DNA data storage?
Minimizing errors during synthesis and sequencing is crucial. Errors can lead to data corruption or loss. So researchers are developing these robust error correction mechanisms, similar to those used in computer systems, to ensure the integrity of the data that's stored in the DNA.
That makes sense. And then another thing I was thinking about is security. When it comes to data storage.
Yeah.
Is DNA data storage vulnerable to hacking or unauthorized access?
DNA data storage actually offers some unique security advantages.
Really?
It's physically difficult to tamper with DNA,
Okay.
and we can encrypt the data before encoding it in DNA,
Right.
adding an extra layer of security.
It's kind of like double protected.
Exactly.
So,
The security of DNA data storage really hinges on controlling access to the physical DNA molecules and implementing those robust encryption protocols.
okay. So it sounds like it could potentially be
It could.
even more secure
Potentially.
than our traditional methods.
Mm-hmm.
So let's imagine for a minute that we overcome these challenges.
Okay.
What are some of the potential game-changing applications?
The possibilities are really vast.
Yeah, like what?
Well, imagine storing these massive archives of historical documents, preserving them for centuries or even millennia.
Wow.
DNA data storage could safeguard our cultural heritage,
Right.
protecting it from degradation and loss.
It'd be like having a molecular library of Alexandria.
Exactly.
That's impervious to time.
Impervious to time.
What about scientific data?
Oh, yeah.
How could this revolutionize research?
Well, scientific data is growing at an exponential rate.
Right.
DNA data storage could provide a really compact and durable solution for archiving these vast data sets, from climate science to astronomy, enabling future generations of scientists to access and build upon, our current knowledge.
Wow, so we're talking about preserving the accumulated knowledge
The exact
of
humanity
a big idea.
in a format that could last for millennia.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-boggling.
It really is. So are there any potential applications beyond just like large-scale data archiving? Well, DNA data storage could even revolutionize personal data storage.
Okay, how so?
Imagine storing your photos, videos, your personal documents in a format smaller than a grain of rice,
Really?
passed down through generations as a family heirloom.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a fascinating convergence of biotechnology and personal history.
Okay, so we've covered a wide range of potential applications here,
We have.
from preserving cultural heritage to revolutionizing scientific research and personal data storage.
Yeah, and these are just glimpses into the possibilities that DNA data storage offers.
Right.
As technology advances and those costs decline, we can expect even more creative and transformative applications to emerge.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's a fascinating field with the potential to reshape our relationship with information and how we preserve it for the future.
Absolutely. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been kind of exploring this incredible world of giant viruses and DNA data storage. We've talked about their unique characteristics and potential applications.
Yeah, we've discussed how giant viruses, these enigmatic giants of the microbial world, play these crucial roles in ecosystems. And, they might even hold the key to advancements in biofuel production and antibiotic development.
Yeah, and we've also explored DNA data storage. This revolutionary concept that could transform how we preserve information for millennia. We're talking historical archives to scientific data and even personal memories.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
It is. It is. But, with any groundbreaking technology, it's crucial to consider those ethical implications.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's kind of delve into those considerations.
Okay.
Starting with giant viruses.
Yeah.
What are some of the, ethical questions that are raised by researching and manipulating these things?
Well, researching and manipulating giant viruses raises important ethical questions.
Okay.
And, accidental release is a primary concern.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So, if we're not careful, we could inadvertently introduce novel viruses into the environment, potentially disrupting ecosystems or even impacting human health.
Right.
So stringent safety protocols and containment measures are absolutely essential to prevent such occurrences.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that scientific advancements should always be accompanied by responsible practices.
Absolutely.
So are there any other ethical considerations that we need to think about when we're talking about giant virus research?
Well, the potential for misuse is a valid concern, particularly in the context of bioterrorism.
Right.
International collaboration and strict regulations are going to be crucial to prevent the weaponization of giant viruses.
Yeah. So global cooperation and responsible research practices are paramount.
Absolutely.
In mitigating those risks.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's shift our focus to DNA data storage.
Okay.
What ethical considerations come up when we talk about storing vast amounts of information in DNA.
Well, privacy is a significant concern.
Right.
DNA contains our most personal biological information. So storing sensitive data in DNA raises questions about, data ownership, access, and potential misuse.
Yeah. I mean, imagine a future where employers or insurance companies could access your DNA data.
Exactly.
And that could lead to discrimination based on, genetic predispositions.
Right. It's a scary thought.
Yeah, it raises some profound ethical questions.
It does. And establishing clear guidelines and regulations around data security, access, and consent is absolutely crucial to address these concerns. We need to ensure that DNA data storage technology benefits society as a whole while protecting individual rights.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
Are there any concerns about equitable access to DNA data storage? Could this technology exacerbate existing inequalities?
Yeah, accessibility and affordability are crucial factors to consider. We need to ensure that DNA data storage doesn't become, a technology that's accessible only to a privileged few, further widening those societal gaps. Making this technology accessible to all is going to require continued research and development and efforts to, reduce those costs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From the intricacies of giant viruses to this transformative potential of DNA data storage and the ethical considerations that go along with these advancements.
Yeah, it's been a great discussion.
So what key takeaways should our listeners kind of reflect on as we conclude this exploration?
Well, I think these technologies offer incredible promise for advancing scientific knowledge, addressing global challenges, and reshaping how we preserve information for future generations. However, we must proceed with caution, considering the ethical implications, the potential risks, and the need for responsible development and regulation.
It's about finding that balance.
Finding that balance, exactly.
Well, as we continue to unlock the secrets of the natural world and kind of push the boundaries of technology, it's crucial to engage in, thoughtful dialogue about the societal impact and the ethical considerations that really should be guiding our path forward.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of giant viruses and DNA data storage.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope this journey has sparked your curiosity and kind of left you pondering, these profound questions and possibilities that these technologies present. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep imagining the future we want to create.